What's up, guys? My name is Kate with TypeMatch, and I'm here today with Binyamin. He has a YouTube channel where he talks all about typology and connecting different theories to typology. I saw today, I was watching a couple of your videos where you had a tree of life and you had a
Oh, right.
series on that. That was a very interesting connection.
Right. Yeah, that's a different sort of topic, but yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but
Thanks. Yeah.
I've been exploring your videos, and
Oh,
the
cool.
take you have is really, it's revolutionary. You really bring something new to the table, so I'm
Thank you.
excited to have you on my channel. And you're an ISTP, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm also really excited to have an ISTP on my channel because, this space doesn't have a lot of sensors in general, and especially ISTPs. There aren't a
Right.
lot really big in the MBTI community. So it's really cool to get a perspective from you as well, based on that. But
Yeah,
yeah,
happy to be here. Happy to share. Thanks. Thanks for having me.
yeah. And for you guys, you should definitely check out Benjamin's YouTube channel. I will link it in my description at the bottom. But let's get into it. I wanted to talk to you. We were having a really interesting discussion right before the call, and I was like, let's just jump into it because I don't want anybody to miss this, about compatibility and your views on compatibility. And you were talking about how there should be different dimensions, based on like communication, passion, and companionship. So can you explain that?
Yeah, those are just three scales that I thought might be a good way to judge things because those are three things that I noticed that type sort of touches on, can be a predictor for. And obviously what I was saying is any type can be compatible with any type. But these are three scales that I've noticed that I guess the more your type is different than the other person in as many ways as possible, the more the passion will go up, but
Mhm.
then the less the communication will be and the less the companionship would be. So,
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That almost sounds like the stereotypical couple that like they're total opposites. They don't make sense together and they fight all the time, but then they have this weird, like intense passion for each other.
right, yeah, it's lots of ups and lots of downs and extreme ups and extreme downs. And
Uh-huh.
if you can get a handle on it, and if both people are mature and can sort of real like hold themselves together, then it can be a very successful and beautiful relationship. But it's hard. It's like a very challenging style of relationship, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And what do you mean by the more different they are? Do you mean just in cognitive functions, or are you talking about in temperaments?
That's right. Yep. If they have different cognitive functions, if they have different temperaments as well, um, if I guess if people are using judging functions and then the other one is using perceiving functions, so even there is a difference that
Ah,
could
okay, like
add. Yeah,
lead judging versus lead perceiving.
that's right. Yeah.
Okay. Um, what about communication? What do you think
So
there?
communication, I noticed that as long as the people are using all the same functions, the communication is almost flawless.
Hmm.
As soon as you start introducing different functions, then there's miscommunication, misunderstandings, because we perceive the world through our functions,
Hmm.
and we're going to use language also through our functions. And so if one person with one set of functions is using
Yeah.
the word thinking, and the other person with another set of functions is using the word thinking, they mean something completely different.
Yeah, right.
Right. And so then that kind of thing can hurt communication. But I mean, over time, couples anyways should be able to get over this bump, but
Hmm.
it's I think communication is the foundation of relationships in general, so it's important to at least
Yeah.
be aware of those differences.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then what about for companionship? What do you think?
So companionship is really more based on similar interests.
Hmm.
So type can predict how similar your interests are, but it doesn't have to. But I mean, if people are generally like, let's say both of them are IPs, or IP with an EP or something like that. So then that will add to the companionship because they have sort of like a place where they can meet
Hmm.
in the yeah, in the whole map of things. If Also, if both are STs or both are NFs, then that could add to companionship. If yeah, that sort of thing. Just
Okay. Like
similarities,
interested
I
in
think.
having the same types of like discussions or around the same topics,
Right.
or do you mean like when you
Well,
say
okay,
the same interest, do you mean like physical interest, like going out and doing the same things?
that's right. Yeah. So like two EPs, for example, are going to be more interested in freedom, more interested in getting new experiences, discovering. And so
Mhm.
then if two people are both EPs, it doesn't matter if they're using different functions, the EP-ness of them will connect
Yeah,
and form some kind of companionship. Yeah.
right, right. Hmm. What possible flaws do you see with that? I mean, does like high companionship automatically equal high compatibility?
Right. So the flaws would be again with language, and then with maybe you might not have such a like you'll have the best friend zone sort of thing where it'll be a friend
Hmm.
zone and there won't be too much passion going on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So what do you think would be the ultimate combination? Because some of these things are um, not necessarily fitting within each other.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the thing. You need to sort of find a balance. And
Hmm.
some people, the most important thing to them is just the passion. They don't care about anything else. That's what they want in a relationship. So, I mean, if that's what you're looking for, then you need someone who's looking for the same thing and someone who matches you in that way.
Hmm.
Um, But I mean, if you want a long-term relationship, then it's probably better to sacrifice a little bit on passion, or at least find someone who's mature enough to not get carried away in the ups and downs of that spectrum. Yeah.
Yeah. Which one, which type of relationship in terms of typology do you think is best to help the other person grow?
Ah, okay. Yeah, that's an interesting question. Okay, so the more opposite you are, the more you have to grow in order to connect.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's difficult. It's not easy.
Hmm.
Um, Then the other thing is if you have like let's say a dual relationship, for example. So like you're an ENTP, so the opposite would for a dual would be an SI with a
An
FG.
ISFJ?
Yeah,
Yeah.
ISFJ. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Then this is the socionics
Right, exactly.
theory of
So like
compatibility. Yeah.
say you have that. So the other person is living in your inferior
Hmm.
and they can sort of help you out with your inferior because that's really where your
Okay.
growth needs to be.
Yeah.
Um, just there's a danger there that they will take over the responsibilities of your inferior for you, and then you
Hmm.
won't grow at all. And so that's kind of like the danger with a dual is that they might not
Hmm.
hold you accountable to that inferior function and do it for you.
Yeah.
And
I saw your
there's no growth.
I saw your video about that, and that makes sense. Like, okay, you take care of the details. That's you. That's your strength. But what about if they have opposite functions? Like, wouldn't the other person then like just, since you have completely opposite functions, the other person would be taking care of all of those, and you take care of all of these?
Right, like you mean if someone's on the an opposite quadrant, like someone's using like say someone's using TE and NI with you.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So someone's using completely opposite functions. You're still going to have to be responsible for your SI, for example. You're still going to have to
Mm.
be responsible for that inferior.
Yeah.
Um, and so I guess you'll have not much of an overlap for communication purposes, but
Mhm.
you will have the I guess the the path to growth and even more of a growth. You're going to have to go into your shadow and they're going to have to go into their shadow in order to bridge that gap between you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like to speak the other person's language,
That's right.
pretty
Yeah,
much.
speak the other person's language, and also all of your functions aren't going to be really respected by the other person, and you're not going to really respect their functions. And so it's really going to be a lesson in accepting someone for who they are and
Hmm.
that sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just yeah, being an accepting person, allowing the person to be who they are and not force your own cognition onto them and say this is the way you have to be. Yeah.
I found that to be more true in terms of the judging functions than the perceiving functions, causing more conflict. Um,
Hmm.
I was once told by an ex, we just don't make decisions in the same way. And I was like,
Right.
does that matter? That was before I was into typology and understood like what he was getting at, really. Um,
Right.
but yeah, as far as like in a relationship with an FI user, them not
Mhm.
understanding like FE, then thinking like that person is being fake, and
Yeah, that's right. That's right. If
and
someone's not using
yeah,
FE, they'll see FE as fake, something like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and
Um,
the other person seeing them as being like maybe selfish or something for not going
yeah,
along with what the group wants.
that's right. Well, the other thing is also it's depends what you want to get out of the relationship. Like if you just want to have the relationship itself and then have a separate external world from each other,
Mm-hmm.
then that's one thing. But if you're using all of the 8 functions between the two of you, um, then you could potentially deal with the outside world a lot more. You can see what's coming a lot better, because you're seeing just more of the spectrum of what
Yeah.
the world is showing you. And if you have a way to communicate your functions to their functions, then really your awareness of things will go up and your ability to deal with things might go up if you're really able to make the relationship work.
So it sounds like, the greater the the risk, or the greater the barrier to entry, the more the potential reward. But it's
That's
like
right.
climbing that ladder to get there.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
that's really true. Yeah. It also means you're going to have to put a lot more energy in making the relationship work, especially at first,
Hmm.
and getting over that. So, but I mean, any energy you put in can come right back out in a positive way if you're willing to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Are there any types of pairs or relationships that you think on the other end would prevent growth?
Um, well, first of all,
Well,
just if I think the biggest predictor of that is if the two people are growth mindset or not.
yeah.
Um, if if one person is just stuck in their functions and doesn't want to grow, then that could really hurt the growth of the other person. So it's important that you're on sort of the same kind of growth path. And then the other thing is there is the risk of one person growing too quickly and leaving the other one behind, creating
Yeah.
insecurities in that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think that there's a risk of like both are um, on a growth path, growth mindset, but they just grow apart?
Yeah, that's right. I
Yeah.
think that's definitely something that there could be a risk for, and it's something that just companionship and communication can help with that.
Hmm.
Setting the same goals, setting the same objectives, and yeah, it's important. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really hard to generalize all of this stuff, but
Yeah.
each
I
case
know.
is going to be different.
Yeah. I know that these are not easy questions that I'm
Yeah,
throwing
no,
at you
yeah.
right here. And I'm sorry about that. But um, what do you think are the best matches?
The
If you don't want,
best.
if you don't want to answer this, you don't have to.
Well, I can say what the best for me personally might be.
Okay,
Um,
I'd love to hear it. Yeah, tell
yeah.
me. Yeah.
Um, so so if for me, I would personally like to find someone who's as opposite as possible, that is able to handle it, that is able to put in the energy and communication, and it's um like I realize it's going to be like a level 10 challenge relationship, but also you're going to get the reward that comes with that.
Yeah.
So that's personally what I would be looking for. Um, but at the same time, you need a little bit of rest. You can't always be on edge, always be putting in that effort. You need to be able to kick back and relax a little bit.
Yeah.
So there has to be at least a couple of common interests, I think, that can
Okay.
help with that. Yeah.
Okay. So I like how you answered that question, but it wasn't like a direct, like, oh, I would like to be with this type, because I think you
Right.
don't believe that.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think there's any one type that's perfect for anyone else.
Hmm.
And it also depends on what people are looking for in a relationship and, their maturity level, what they can handle.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
50. I mean, I think it's 50% compatible, personality, and then 50% all the other factors that make you up.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, I saw that video where you explained
and
that. Yeah,
then
I agree. Yeah.
yeah, and then there's different flavors of each type. I think that
Yes.
depending on like your growth and development and like where you're focused in your stack, are you an ESTP that's very TI focused versus like more FE focused? And that would make a difference in terms of
That's right.
your compatibility with somebody else.
Yeah.
And yeah, and what you're looking for out of the relationship.
One thing that is really interesting to look at is the power struggles that happen in relationships and where the
Yeah.
sources of those are. Um, like if someone's SE and another person's SI and they're clashing on the sensory,
Hmm.
so you can sort of make out that power struggle and see basically in the functions where the struggle is coming from. Um, Usually what happens is each person has some kind of red button in their inferior function.
Hmm.
And when one person pushes on one red button, then they'll push back on the other red button and there'll be that power struggle.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
I think it's important. I think type can really help people identify where those power struggles are coming from and where the clashes are coming from.
Can you
Yeah.
tell me what would it look like for an SESI power struggle? Let's say they're like they're high SE, SE
Right.
dumb or
Okay. So it also
SE
comes down to
high
how you
SI.
define the functions and how you understand the functions. But the
Mhm.
way I see SI is that they're really personal about everything, all of the physical world around them. It's very personal, and SE is very impersonal. It's
Yeah,
very,
interesting.
yeah. So the SE might not value the things that the SI does and the SI might take certain facts and certain truths to be valuable, where the SE might just disrespect them and just say, okay, it's just another data point. It's just another object. It's just
Mm.
another, I don't know, dress of yours. I don't care about this dress. Like, I don't care which
Oh.
dress you put on, things like this. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I really like this. Now I want to know, can we go through the rest of them?
Yeah. Why not?
Okay,
Sure.
yeah, let's do what would an NENI power struggle look like?
So this might be a little close to home for you.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's the same thing. There's a personal aspect to the intuition with the NI,
Right.
where they might take all of their opinions and their conclusions very seriously, and the NE doesn't really respect those. Well, what about this conclusion? What about this one? And it might just seem like they're just throwing out these half concocted ideas out in the air.
Yeah.
I like to say it's like the NE is juggling babies, and the NI is just like, don't
Like,
do that.
no, my
Yeah,
baby. Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I don't know if you see that,
No,
but
I do. I do.
yeah,
Yeah. One like especially very specific instance comes to mind. I'm like, oh yeah, that was very annoying. Okay.
yeah.
Um, yeah.
Do you
So
want to share it or
no.
too personal? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I just wouldn't want to embarrass the other person if they
Right.
saw it because they would know I was talking about them. Um,
Okay.
what about TETI?
Right. Okay. So TE is very overwhelming for TI. Like this, I can say on a personal level, because they will be bringing arguments to support arguments. They won't really look at the logical structure underneath the
Mhm.
argument. And where the TI might be really annoying for the TE, they might be like deconstructing their arguments and invalidating them one by one.
Mhm.
And it might get the TE upset, but the TE is able to bring out arguments a lot quicker than the TI can deconstruct them.
Right.
And and so it becomes really overwhelming, and it if the TE isn't valuing the TI's processing power, the difficulty it is to actually discuss those kind of things, and if they're not valuing, it's the same thing. If the extroverted function isn't valuing the depth of the introverted
Yeah.
function, then there's going to be that overwhelming nature on the introverted function.
Yeah, I think we talked about this at the end of our call last time, or you were saying that like extroverted functions will be much faster and they might overwhelm the introverted functions, but the introverted function will ultimately win. Like
Right. Yeah. If the communication
usually.
works. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If the communication works, if there's, it's really easy for the extroverted function not to allow communication, to just keep
Mhm.
throwing out that overwhelming information in that
Mhm.
way, then the communication won't be there. Um, I like to think of TE as throwing Rubik's cubes at the TI, and
Mhm.
the TI is struggling to solve them one at a time, and they
Yeah,
just keep throwing more, and then the TI just ends up with a whole handful of Rubik's cubes they can't solve.
that's a really good metaphor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, it's good. I like it. I like your visual interpretations of the functions. It's really good. Um, okay, and finally, FEFI. How would those two struggle for power?
So this for me is going to be a little bit harder to judge and see.
Okay.
But what you said also, that FI views FE a little bit fake. Um, and something that FI needs to see is that FE is genuine.
Hmm.
It's genuine for that person. It's who they are. They're not pretending to be that. That's just what they are. That's just who they are. FE likes to get up all up in people's feeling business, and FI doesn't like it when people get all into their feeling business, and
Ah,
feelings are personal for them. And
yeah.
when they share them, it's a personal sharing. So like if an FE user were to learn about a feeling or a struggle that an FI user is going through, and then they just go and tell everybody about it, that's like, don't do that,
Right.
right?
Right.
Because it's personal for them. And they might not realize if they're with other people, and maybe in the privacy of their home they were talking about feelings, but then when they were with other people and they're just opening up the feeling gates to talk about, that's
Mhm.
not really, that's not something that FI users really like to have happen, for other people just to enter their personal private world like that.
Yeah.
So it, again, it's the same thing. It's being overwhelmed. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that hits hard. I know
Yeah.
exactly what you're talking about. Like I've made this mistake. So
Oh, really?
no,
You've done
I don't
FE on an
I don't
FI? Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I definitely do. Because I don't realize like how much their feelings actually mean to them. Um,
Right.
but I'm much better at keeping other people's secrets than I am about like keeping my own. I was like, should I tell you this? Ah, it's fine. Like,
Right. Well, you did good just now when you said, this
yeah,
person will, yeah, will know
yeah,
about this NINE struggle. Yeah.
yeah. But that's after learning. Um,
Right.
but okay, so I have one last hypothesis regarding this is so I think FE well extroverted functions are tribe focused whereas introverted functions are like self focused. So
Mhm.
like the tribe focused person is looking towards a self focused people to be like that representative of the tribe that they can then take into that they can absorb. But I was thinking it would make sense for an FE user to respect the FI user's feelings, but then it's sort of like a majority rules thing. So if they then go out, it's like, well, all these people are feeling this and you're the only one who's feeling this, then I'm going to go with these and that sucks for your partner, but it's
Right.
so you
Yeah.
have to play like that little like, oh, I don't know
Yeah.
which to prioritize here.
So that's something I've encountered as well with a TE user, taking in my opinion, but then also going and taking in everyone else's opinion and doing what the majority says about that sort of thing. Where like, um, where like it's a little bit offensive that they would go and do that, that they like
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Like sort of, why'd you ask what I think if you're
Right.
just gonna
If you're just gonna go do what everyone else says anyways.
yeah,
That's right. Yeah.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
the interesting part there is that extroverted functions really value the introverted functions.
Mhm.
They really they don't get the depth, but they see it. But at the same time, they're not able to value just one. They need, like you said, they need to go and pull all of the introverted functions of that type. Um, so it's because they value it so much that they're going out and looking at everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it can feel disrespectful to the individual.
That's right. Even though
Yeah.
they value it so much, they're valuing other people's as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Whereas it's very personal. Like they want you to, the
Mhm.
person with the introverted function wants you to value their introverted function
Mhm.
as like the number one.
Okay.
So
Well, would this be a problem for people who have the same introverted functions, like two FI users or two TI users valuing their thoughts and feelings over those of their partner? Could that
I
cause a
could, yeah,
clash?
I could see a little bit of a clash there, especially if they're high, both high in the stack. If one is high in the stack and the other one is low in the stack, then again, there would be the defaulting to the person with it higher in their stack.
Yeah.
The person with it higher in their stack ultimately should be able to realize that the one person has it lower and sort of baby it in a way, be respectful of it because
Mhm.
they could really risk hurting it if they shine too bright with their function.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this, I can't even remember if before I learned typology, I was able to to just like recognize that automatically. Is this like inherent in people that they can realize like, oh, I am better at this than this
Yeah.
person. I've got to like treat that with care.
So from
Or
what I've seen, I think in times of peace, then it's inherent. It's just
okay.
when there's an argument or a fight, that's when it will be devalued, and that's exactly when things will start escalating and snowballing,
Mm.
because they're not able to treat that function with care like like they normally do, or I hate to use
Yeah.
the word should, but yeah, like they should be doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense. Right now I'm just thinking. All right. I always want to take time to just like stare off and like contemplate what people
Yeah.
say, but I can't do that in a video. So I don't know. I think that's all the questions I have, unless
Awesome.
yeah,
Yeah.
unless you have any. I didn't want to make this video too
I
long.
just want to say, I was playing around with your app, just for more of like a curiosity sort of thing. And yeah, so that's why I thought about the scale of the three, maybe that could
Mhm.
be, but I don't know, whatever you guys see is right to implement for your app, obviously is best. I don't know how people would take that sort of thing. It might be too complicated or whatever,
Yeah.
but I like to say, I want to say that your app is really good and the people there seem to be really quality people.
Oh,
And
thanks.
yeah, I want to wish you success and yeah,
Yeah, I really appreciate that, and I appreciate you genuinely like taking an interest and taking a look at it. This is just the beginning. Like there are
right.
going to be so many updates and so many features added. It was just like this is like the first base version, and I really want to improve the compatibility matching and testing and basically everything. I
Yeah,
have so
you
many
have a lot of
ideas.
work ahead of you. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, this is going
Yeah,
to
and
be
ideas
fun.
for any users come in spades. Like
It's too
no problem
many
with that.
because
Yeah.
then I
Yeah.
I can't make them all happen right now.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then also you don't know if you should make them happen.
I don't, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
prioritizing them as well. But yeah, hopefully
Awesome.
hopefully, when you check out the app again in a few months, you see that it's made some progress and
Right. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
yeah, thank you. Have a good one.